what you call her first.
Well, aren't you coming home? Yeah, honey, after class. Oh, I forgot.
What day is it?
Yeah.
How could she forget?
Really? How could you
She's on spring break. She didn't. The alarm went off today, and my alarm, and she flew up out of bed. Thought she was late for school. She goes, "What day is it?" I said, "It's Thursday." "Oh, I'm still on spring break." She rolled back over.
She's not here, huh?
Huh? Yeah. Alrighty. Alrighty, we're going to get going on prayers here. Make sure we got everything. Ooh, there we go. Hello, everybody. Alright. Say our prayers. Today we get to study Torah for the sake of heaven, for the sake of Israel and all Jerusalem. We'd like to give the merit of our study and the merit of our Torah to Stephen King, Abraham Ben Moshe Gilla, Ed Striblin, Linda Torah, Carly Serio, Brennan Walsh, Raymond Rosentrader, Brooke Gibson, Paul Navarez, Garrett Mattlage, Jordan Mattlage, Patients of Texas Oncology, Rita Wilson, Betty Munkuski, Lola daughter Justin Lakeisha Neal, Berea Wanstaff, Elise Hagar, Nadine Freeman, Logan Willis, Billy Hope, Charles David Rolls, Homer, Christopher Durka, Noel Cardoza, David Douglas, Vicky McLean, Savannah, daughter of Matthew Misty Katz, Tom and Karen Maitland, Sandra Hayes, Carol Tinkle, Larry Laneberg, Jill Navarez, Blake Highland, Leela Briscoe, Sam Peak, Yehuda High Ben Matai Leah, James Lendon, David Jenkins, Jake Suarez, Bobby Williams Sr., Sally Talamontes, the Rogers family, Daniel Washington, Carol Scott, Rabbi Richmond, Maurice Greenwood, Gracie Bill Linder, Brandy Boots, Amanda Elliott, Frank Pollard, Carol's family, Baby Denard, Michelle Magnuson, Jenna Marie, Kimberly Brown, David January, Kim Lively, Crespin Rodriguez, Sandra Hurth, Virgil Williams, Brad Mace, Jocelyn Olivia Nickerson, Jerry Mattlage, Dylan Tinkle, Amber Merchant, Simca Ben Abraham and family, Celinda Sheffields, Louis Gutierrez and family, Aaron Price, Gail McWhorter, Sonia Kinzer, Kathy Johns, John Michael Christopher Ramos, Jean Son of Jock Coates, Nellie Warwick, Tehila Abuelo, Miranda Rosas, Jim Barfield, family, Naomi Bat Simca, Terry King, Ronald Whitlow, Kathleen Graham Walsh, Brandon's family, Mila Rose, Monica Johnson, Ed and Dottie Garrison, Moshe Salavechek, Don Marie, Farrar Saji, Benson Ewing, Darlene Yachts. Hey, I saw Darlene today. She came in. Debbie Henson, Anita Jones, Jessica Ross, Doug Eldridge, Bryant Welch, Gideon, Salvador Gutierrez and family, Phoebe Bridges, Jacob and Simca, Max Wagner, son of Marcy Wagner, Mark Malage, Emily Bottoba, Nadine Bot, Miriam, Jackie Cup and family, Alton Tillman, Beth Corman, Elvia Rosas, and everybody in South Africa that's has a conference today. And I guess that's it. This will be Innerspace Class 14. Let me turn this on right here. Does that look all right? Okay. Innerspace 14. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and that you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken, prepare our hearts to love and revere you. May you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden treasures of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. And may their merit and the merit of their Father and the merit of their holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I'll see wonders from your Torah, because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Amen. All right. Real quick, before we get going on page 69, many of you, if you want to get a book, Beyond Kabbalah, everything that I've ever learned, all my methods, how I think, is in this book. This book was written by Joel Bax, my rabbi. And if you really want to get you a good foundation to learn Kabbalah, it's under $30 and it's huge. It's called Beyond Kabbalah, The Teachings That Cannot Be Taught. And everything is in here. I mean, he spent, 20 years putting this together, and it's all in there. All the science, you name it, everything about Kabbalah that you need to learn to get a very good grasp on what's going on. So real quick before we get going here with finishing up Netzach and Hod, I wanted to go over just quickly what he and I have been studying this week. And one of the things that we have been studying, and you've heard me mention in it the last couple of classes, is the word alchemical. All right, an alchemical is a bonding, is where it's molding together. All right, and so in studying this, one of the things that according to some of the books that we've read and these rabbis that we've been studying and the Gaon of Vilna, is that once the concept of alchemy is redeemed, Mashiach, that's the last thing. Alchemy is one of the 7 sciences, and that has to be redeemed. And once that happens, you're going to see Mashiach. Why? Because 3D has to go into 4D, and it's an alchemical bond. All right? It's not an admixture. Like the Erev Ra, when you mix good with evil, you get an admixture. Whereas when you get an alchemical bond, it changes the substance altogether. All right? Why do we have to worry about alchemy in Kabbalah and Torah in general? Why do we have to even talk about it? Because when the fall happened, we have man, all right, and then we have animal, and then we have plant, and then we have mineral. Mm-hmm. Well, everything, the lowest level is mineral. So if you're going to start redemption, you have to start with mineral, then plant, then animal, then, because it all has to go back up. So human is, say, Atzilut, Berea is animal, Yetzirah is plant, and mineral is then Asiya. Mm-hmm. And so the plants draw up their essence out of the mineral. Mm-hmm. And then there's a chemical change. It's an alchemical change. Then the cow eats that, and then that is an alchemical change, and it's turned into protein factors and fatty factors and all these different chemical factors, and then we eat that. And so there's a natural elevation going up. This is one of the things with kosher eating and the rumen is the ability to elevate food. All right? And so you're actually bringing it up from the very bottom. Now, Ravali goes into the facts that this alchemical, the purest metal is gold. All right, and so gold and the most base is lead. And so throughout we're going to call it the Middle Ages, there were all these alchemists, Jewish alchemists that were turning lead into gold. And if you know the formula and you know the language, and it has to be done in Hebrew with certain words and certain letters, you can make lead into gold. All right? And if you understand alchemy correctly, you can take any metal and make it into gold if you have gold, because gold is from Atzilut. Mm-hmm. All right? So, where do we see this in Torah? How do we know that these guys were great alchemists? Solomon had more gold than anybody.
Mm-hmm. And silver.
All right, and as soon but it says the Torah says that silver became like they threw the silver away.
Yeah.
Why did they throw the silver away? Because they could make anything gold. Right. And Solomon is our Mashiach prototype. Okay, and as soon as he met with the Queen of Sheba, we know who she is. She told him where all the pure gold was, and it starts with an O. And so he goes there, and once you have that, the alchemical mixture makes anything that. All right. Where's another place we see this? How about the Ark of the Covenant? You think they just took gold sheets and hammered the gold in there? No, it was an alchemical reaction. So where do we see it on the backside? Did the sorcerers know the alchemical formulas? Yeah. Yes. Where did they use it?
In Egypt?
Yeah. When? First word's gold.
Golden calf.
The golden calf.
Yeah.
Well,
The golden calf.
Yeah, because they said that they threw it in.
They just threw it in.
Right. Same thing with the menorah. The
The
menorah, they took a block of gold and put it in, and it came out.
Good job.
Yeah. I also.
We're redeeming alchemy because we see it in Torah and we know how it works.
Didn't they have to pass through?
Here's the kicker.
The hands.
Here's the kicker. Because no hands can touch the Holy of Holies. You can't chisel that. It's got to be alchemical. Mm-hmm. You got to know what you're doing. These guys are scientists in the laboratory of Hashem. Okay? Now, he found a piece that goes into when we're dealing in our chapter in Deuteronomy 14, with the Sesua and the Dea, and then we're given the Nevela, and we're doing all this stuff. These new creatures are all pieces of Noga. Well, this piece that we've been studying is Noga is the secret of alchemy. Because how do you get something to attach to something else? What is the secret of Nelva? To attach? So are you just stuck to the Jew? Or have you alchemically bonded to the Jew, and now you're something else? You are no longer led, because that gold, that absolute gold, has now changed you. Where do we see this? This is the secret of the leaven in the bread. You take a little bit of leaven, and the whole loaf is leavened bread. The whole loaf rises. It permeates, and it's an alchemical reaction that changes the entire piece of bread. So, as we're studying this piece, we start seeing that Ger is a different animal. And this is why nobody knows what to do with it. Because it's not something separate anymore. It has been alchemically changed. And are Gers Jew? No. Are they not Jew?
They're Ger Tzedek.
Are they Ger Tzedek? Or are they not Ger Tzedek? Did Jethro convert? All right, we have all this thing. Jethro converted. Now all this over here, no, he didn't. Job was a Jew. No, Job didn't convert. Job was a Gentile. And so what you're seeing is the alchemical aspect of the transformation of the thing that takes place, because everything has to go back to its absolute root. And as soon as a piece of that absolute enters in to Asiya, to the bottom level, it's going to change its formula to what it originally was. And Ger is this process. Ger is Noga. the membrane that the sparks pass through. And are they passing through like dust in an air filter and then they're just sticking on? Or are they alchemically changing in this process? Because they have to be pure. It has to be cleaned. It has to be purified. It's all this process of bringing back these sparks, because these sparks have to attach back to the original spark, the original light. And so it's making out an alchemical reaction. All right. And we can look no further than the dome of the rock. We have a base rock, and what's covering it is pure gold. And our formula is right there. All right. So anyway, I've been working on that, which is really cool, because for the most part, all we've ever learned about alchemy is from really backside people like Aleister Crowley and all of the backside Kabbalists, and that's where all the Kabbalah gets a bad name, is all these really evil dudes doing backside Kabbalah and child sacrifices and all that stuff. And they were masters in alchemy, all right, which they stole from the front side. All right. So doing that. The other thing that we're gonna tie this into our teaching today is we're studying a piece that is never studied. It's never looked at. We've looked at it in here several times, called the Bozzina di Cardenuta. Remember that? Or Bozzina di Cardenusa. All right? But in here we call it Denuta. All right? This is what we're going to call it's called the black light. It's called black fire, basically. All right? It is the din. It is din. So one of the questions that we have is, what is din doing in Absolute? How, because din is virtually what we call today evil, heavy din. What is din? All right. How can the Holy One have din? All right. How can the Holy One create something and it's just destroying itself and destroying itself and destroying itself, and the world is destroying itself, and He's remaking? Can God not get it right? You see the kasha. Mm-hmm. How does a good God make cancer and dead babies and Holocaust and all these different things? Why all the din? Why Lilith? Why the fall? Why the Tower of Babel? Why all these? Why? You see?
Sin.
Well, but if we say there's nothing here but God, then what is sin?
Humans.
Yeah, but you
we're not separate.
but we're not separate from God.
Right,
You
we're
see,
part of God.
You see our loop.
But we have freedom of choice.
We have freedom of choice, but He's still guiding our path. So, do we really have free anything? Or does God have a perfectly designed plan that everybody's going to line up and hit on the exact same day? Or are we just, like Forrest Gump says, are we just random sparks flying around here like feathers?
We are now.
So our issue is what caused God to think of creation?
He was lonely.
What caused this? So this thought.
That's the deal of where did God get the will to have the will to create?
Exactly. What made God think, I'm going to create something? Now, the Bozzina di Cardenuta will eventually become guvro, which is coagulation, which gives something a form or a structure. So if you are everywhere and are in everything, and you are formless, yet form comes out of formless. How is God is trying to make a form? All right, that form is eventually going to be man, is eventually going to be earth, and then man is going to take that form and going to make all these different gods, Jesus and Buddha, all these forms of God. All right, because man's trying to get back, trying to find the form. All right, so if God is nothing, no thingness, and something comes out of that, that something had to come from something. And this is one of the oldest kashas in all of Kabbalah, is making something from nothing.
He had to move himself out of the way to make something out of nothing.
So what is he thinking? What is he thinking, and how is he thinking it? Now, what happens, the Botsina de Cardenuta, I'm not going to go through all the math because we have to go through a Tika Kadesha, a Rikon Pin, Abba to Ima, and then Guvarot. And there's a lot of very high Kabbalah in it, but we're going to get down to the nuts and bolts because I'm trying to keep it simple for the inner space class here. But we have what's called Mokus Dima'ah, the brain of a reek, and we have Botsina de Cardenuta. And then we have Gilgalta. And you're not even supposed to talk about Gilgalta. So let's just call it a skull, right brain, left brain. And it's all functioning together. And this is the mind of God. All right? That's coming down, and when that pushes down, or when it pushes in to create this thought, the end is rooted in the beginning. So he's always thinking about the end. But the end has to be the first thing in his thought. What is that? So he has to make a vacuum space. All right? And so if you took a pencil and you stuck a pencil into styrofoam and you pulled it out,
You know, hole.
yeah, that's the Botsina de Cardenuta. All right? But it still has residues of the light, because the light in Simpson retracts, but it does go back in. So you have a true vacuum pulling the pencil in, and you have a false vacuum that's left when it's not there. So this is called Simpson. True vacuum, false vacuum. And so the Botsina de Cardenuta is on the side of the female versus the Hasidim. Now, we've studied Hesed and Guvarot. Okay? And we're going to call this male and female, or mercy and justice, or love and evil, or good and evil. Tree of good and evil. Let's just call it good and evil. Why in the world do we need evil? Why can't we just have good?
The balance.
Yeah, but why do we need balance? Why can't we just have good?
How do you know it's good?
Rachamim. Rachamim is Tiferet. So that means Tiferet, that means the balance has to have din. Why do we need din mixed with our good? Why do we need peanut butter with our chocolate?
So we have to need the balance. Otherwise, there's nothing to balance.
Here's the secret. Rachamim is the result of the thought of creation. Rachamim is the result. Earth is the result. The balance, the good and evil, is the result of the thought. Because the only way God can do that, the only way he can think is the whole proverbial what if. What if? So, as he's going through the possibilities, because he's going through the possibilities of creating form, of anything, sun, moon, stars, it don't matter, form of anything, Rachamim happens. Because that's the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. Rachamim is the result. We are the result. Okay? So, it was always that way from the beginning. Why is it always that way? Why was there always balance? Until the splitting at the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Why is there always balance? Because it's always, he's always got it in his thought. Because as the Bartzina to Cardanuta comes down, and starts penetrating, as the black light starts coming down and making creation, making Berea Yetzirah and Asiya, you have judgment, and then you have din. All right, you have basically a split. It will even split. Now this split is called the wine that makes you glad and the wine that makes you drunk. Now, where do we see the wine that makes you glad and the wine that makes you drunk? On Purim. On Purim. Now, as this is, because this is good wine, because where there's dregs in the wine, there's bad wine, but this is good wine. This is holy of holy light. This is holy of holy feminine. So one is a convexity and a convexity, and one is a concavity. The reason he has to do this is because the convexity is the light that's poking through, which is in Esther, that is the female Yesod, that's Leah. And the concavity is Rachel. So a woman has light pushing through, convexity, and concavity. This is Simsum. This is the light that pushes in and the light that pulls out. The Botzina de Cardanuta manifest in the female. In Esther. When Netzach and Hod come together and make Yesod, that's the Rachamim below. That goes to the earth. Malchut. I know I'm trying to keep it as basic as I can. So, this light is the very light that's returning everything. This is the secret of the female aspect of Messiah. So, as we've studied, the father is the foundation of the daughter. Right? Chokmah is the foundation of Malchut. And God tells Moses, shut up, it's rising in my thought. What is rising in his thought the whole time? The very aspect of what happens when I think about creation. This thing manifests itself, and this is the thing I'm thinking about all the time. When the inside of God permeates to the outside, if he turns himself inside out, when God does the hokey pokey and turns himself around, and he says that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, him turning himself inside out. Now it's female, not male. And when he pulls itself back through, Rachamim. All right? He's trying to get the entire universe into a state of balance. Dinosaurs were dinosaurs. There was no balance. He's trying to get everything. So, but as this pushes through, it's all pain, suffering. It's all wars. Everything. All right, and this is what scared Moses. Moses saw this. What was the burning bush? The burning bush is the fire, the black fire, and the Mokas di Ma'ah is the air. The fire in the air, it burned. Why? Because Pharaoh is the Klippa. It ascended all the way up to a Recon Peen, and it had to be burned out. The Mokas di Ma'ah was getting stuck. I mean, the Bartzena de Cardenuta was getting stuck. But Joseph knew this was going to happen because Joseph knows everything. And Messiah ben Joseph must die. So Joseph, remember when he was with Potiphar's wife and the emanation out of his fingers makes Rabbi Akiva and the 10 mortars? It was their sacrifice that literally gave the Bartzena de Cardenuta the energy to the curved light to penetrate itself back through itself. That's what Yesod does. So everything that's coming around in curved light is Messiah ben Joseph. And as it penetrates itself back through, now it's Messiah ben David because now it's back on the inside. The female, that's what's rising in his thought. That's why David is the Nukva. So, that's the secret of this picture. We call it female Leviathan.
It's curved light.
It's trying to explain the Bartzena de Cardenuta. Now, why did I say that? Because we just went through Purim. And we have the light of Hod, right? That's called Hanukkah. But Hod, now this is always opposite on your deal. Okay? This is really the left side, but I know it's flipped around on that. Hod is on the left. Netzach is on the right. Moses and Aaron. Okay? And we're going to read here in just a second, her feet descend to death. But we know feet is another code word for her Yesod. So this one is Hanukkah. This one is Purim. This should be the light and this should be the wine. But it's not. This one is the wine and this one is the light. Because it's two halves of one thing. And the light that's pushing in, as it turns around and goes the other way, is the good wine, the drunk wine, that you have to get drunk on Purim, where you don't know in between 3D and 4D, this world and the next, because it is the very thing, that it is this very light energy that takes us into the next realm, into Atzilut. So let's read it. Let's see what it says. Page 69. As we discussed, Netzach and Hod are usually together and imply imposing upon and giving into another person. In the human body, look real close. Netzach and Hod represent the feet. Uh-oh. Her feet descend to death. Okay? In terms of walking, why do the feet create a reciprocal relationship to the ground? What's the ground here? Malchut. Okay? We can pick up one foot and lower it and put it on the ground, lifting up the other foot. One is always active and one is always passive. Now, look real close here in the second paragraph and page 70. Netzach and Hod also parallel the testicles. And in the women, it's the ovaries, right? Testicles are the main precursor to Yesod Malchut relationship. This is where it's all coming together. It's all coming together right here, Yesod. down to the Teret HaYesod, or Malchut. All right? That's called the kingdom, kingship. In a similar way, because the central role in processing and transmitting divine sustenance, Netzach and Hod are seen as the sources of all prophetic experience. So, not only did they just give us a coordinate and what they actually are, but they told us this is a secret to prophecy. This union, this sexuality that is a part of Judaism is a secret to prophecy. Why could Moses prophesy? Because he was in union with the Holy One. Literally. Now, bottom of the next paragraph. Prophecy is a Netzach experience where God literally imposes his message on the prophet's psyche. Well, how does that work? Because psyche's talking about the brain, but Netzach is testicles. That don't make any sense. I'm going to show you. You see this right here? This is Chokmah, Bina, right brain, left brain. But if you lift this up, it's Netzach and Hod of the one above it. Does that make sense? This is called Hiblabshut, the light that's overlapping. When he was in union, it was transferred from Netzach to his mind from there, because now it's all union. On the other hand, this is third paragraph here. On the other hand, this message can be transmitted in a language that a prophet can understand and symbols that he can grasp. Ultimately, the prophecy can be translated into the prophet's language, and this is a Hod aspect. Okay? What's that saying? If you're a farmer, God is going to talk to you in that language. You know, if you're a mechanic, he's going to talk to you, and he created you to be that, so he's going to explain things to you. You may, when Russell's an electrician, Russell understands a lot about God just by understanding polarity of electricity. I'm a chiropractor. I know the human body. I understand a lot about God because he shows me through the very structure, metaphor, and models that I have to work with. Doesn't matter what you are, that's how you will understand it. That is prophecy. All right? Prophets other than Moses did not have clear visions because they transmitted the message given to them in their own words, not in God's words. The reason for this is Moses' prophecy was totally imposed without any barriers. Why? He was higher. It's only. Moses' prophecy was essential through Netzach. The other prophecies and their visions were the level of Hod. Similarly, and it is Moses who embodies the attribute of Netzach because it's totally imposed he totally imposed Torah upon Israel. Aaron, on the other hand, was just the opposite. His ability to make peace with them stemmed from his willingness to give in to them. When we had the golden calf, Aaron gave it to them, demonstrating that he was a perfect paradigm of Netzach and Hod. Now, if you read that right there, you're going to think Aaron was the bad guy. Why did Aaron let them build the golden calf?
He didn't really have a choice.
Well, sure he had a choice.
Well,
he has free choice.
They killed her, and he didn't want to get killed, and he was trying to stall for time.
He was trying to stall for time, but what does Aaron know?
He knows a lot.
Her feet descend to death. Mm-hmm. Aaron is an aspect of Hod. He understands about Sina Cardanuta. He understands its dinning. He understands the calf and the calf and the cow and all that stuff are on that side. He understands gold is from Atzilut.
So it's part of the balance.
It had to be. That's the whole penetration in that causes the next realm. Now, was it a terrible miscalculation, and did it cause a whole lot of things? Yep. If they don't build the golden calf, does David ever get born? Nope.
Is it the balance too of giving of the Torah?
Well, it's only a part of this alchemical, like we were talking about, plan. Moses knows that they're going. Remember, I taught a couple weeks ago that when it says and the angel of the Lord is going to lead him through, and Moses says, "No, I don't want this one. I want the big one." Why are you giving me the little one when we haven't even done the golden calf yet? Remember that? They know what's going on. They know it's going to happen. Because they are running the formula. They are running the program.
And 4D.
And it manifests itself. Now ultimately, he's allowing them to do that so that Moses can buy time, right? But when Moses gets back, Ravali says that pure gold cures any disease. And you have to grind it up and drink it. Now, that's an alchemical formula. Now, but you got to have pure gold. What did Moses do?
He ground up the gold from the calf.
He ground up the gold and he made them all drink it. Moses was an alchemist. He knew, Aaron knew, they all knew what was going on. All right? Because this is how you redeem the whole thing.
The evil.
All right? Because the mixed multitude made this. They are a mixture, an admixture. They're not an alchemical bond. Because the Erev Ra and all the evil is when the Bartzina gets on the outside, and now you have Din and Guberot. But as soon as that's brought back in, and it pulls that in, and it alchemically makes it come in, the Erev Ra and all the evil of the world is the secret of the thing that's rising in his thought that he's got to have, that builds the entire structure, the entire formation. It's the thing that's going to form everything in Olam Haba. It's the only way to build something there is to invert it and prolapse it here.
And then pull it back out to holiness.
And let it coagulate. And then when you pull it in Olam Haba, it has form and function in a world where there is no form or function. This is what's arising in his thought. And we fight him the whole way. Let's keep reading. Now, all right, so jump over to page 71. Third paragraph. Again, the paradigm of this is Aaron at the golden calf. Since Aaron embodies the attribute of behold, his submission to the will of the people represents the possibility of evil nourishing itself from good. All right? But we know why we got to have it. This is also the idea of the angel striking Jacob's thigh, wrestling him with the entire night. The Zohar says Jacob's left thigh was corresponding to Hod. The battle took place on a spiritual level and was perceived by Jacob in a prophetic vision. Let's stop right there. Why in the world would they put Jacob's ladder right here with the golden calf in Mount Sinai? They might have not even known they did it, but it's beautiful that it happened. Because Sinai and Sulam have the same gematria. And Jacob was struck in the left testicle. Because of the clean language of Torah, it says his hip. So that's why he walked with a limp. But it said, and God healed him. All right? Why? Because that was Hod. he was literally hit in the very spot where this thing is trying to go down. Because what does it say? He wrestled with Samael, the left side. Where's the left side going to hit you? Crotch shot. Right? What's the golden calf? Left side. Hode. Crotch shot. It knows what it's doing because that's its only avenue to come through. And so now we use Jacob's deal as the sinew of the hip, or the bone of the hip. But if we know what's going on Kabbalistically, we can see what's happening because her feet descend to death. This whole thing. We can follow the line of God's thinking, where it's going. Who is Jacob? Jacob is Israel. Who is Israel? His firstborn son. Who is the son? I mean, it's God. This is where God got hit. Because there's nothing here but God. And his formations of himself. So that he can turn around and have something, a form of himself. So literally, God can touch himself. Because if you're everywhere and in everything, you can't see,
Can't see the forest because of the trees.
You can't see the forest from the trees.
It's the Helen Keller effect.
It's the Helen Keller effect.
But once that breakthrough is made,
That's right.
then it all starts becoming self-explanatory.
That's it. So here we go. Let's continue. The wound in the thigh symbolizes a partial victory of evil. Well, of course it does. Jacob's children would suffer persecutions. Of course they have to. Because it's this aspect of din that's creating the form of everything that's in God's mind. You know when you used to whip your kids and says, this hurts me more than it does you? God really means that. It hurts him more than it hurts you. Because he's the one feeling all the pain. Many Jews would fall on the way, and there would be many apostates, and the fact that Jacob was injured in the left thigh indicates the results of Hod for the secondary purpose. Nevertheless, God was promising that despite all these sufferings, the Jewish people would never be totally overcome or conquered by evil. Jacob's offspring would ultimately survive and carry the banner of God's teachings to all mankind. Then the level of Netzach, the primary purpose. So it's going to go from one side to the other. The dance of Hasidim and Guvurot. All right? But you have to have one side to create, you have to have one to create the other, to establish the other, to give it form and function, instead of just attributes. Now, last paragraph, second sentence. The purpose of evil is to allow free choice. I thought it was free will. No, it's free choice. Mm-hmm. To exist, thereby bring about the primary purpose, which man's attaching himself to God and ultimately restoring the world to good. By the analogy, evil's like the peel of the fruit and the nutshell. Here's our Klippa story right here. In themselves, they're useless, but they serve as a secondary purpose to preserve the fruit until it's ready to be eaten. God's creating a vessel. And pain and suffering is his way of creating something that can contain the light. There's a vacuum, a void, and he's going to fill it. The same is true of evil. It does not serve God's primary purpose of bestowing good, but it does fulfill a secondary purpose of making it possible. The fact, the destiny of evil is to be transformed into ultimate good. This is what's arising in his thought. As soon as it curves back and it goes back in, all of that dinim, all of that energy, all of that coagulation is going to be the best good he could possibly make. And there's no other way to do it. And Rachamim is the result. Earth is the result. Humanity and suffering is the result. The 10 martyrs is the result. The Holocaust is the result. The death of the Jews and the badgering of the Jews for 6,000 years is the result. Because what do we say? How can such a good God do such a bad, be such a evil, do such evil things? So you have to hold on to that real loose, because the process of producing the ultimate good is painful. It's the process of, he's in the process, and guess what? In his mind, it's happening right now.
That's also the birthing process.
That's right. That's right. So slowly but surely, the world must reach this level of perfection planned by God. Now, if you'll look, this first, I guess the big paragraph, people ask, you see the word free will right there. So he goes on this rant about free will, and then if you look in the last paragraph, and since therefore, if we cheat time, we misuse our free choice. He has to clarify and say it's really free choice, but that's okay. So a person, let's read the second paragraph up on page 72. A person even has they talk about a chess game, and you're playing a chess game with God. But a person has the ability to cheat in the divine providence game here. As Rabbi Horowitz says in his Twin Tablets book there, he explains this because God's master plan involves total perfection of every detail of creation. Since the way this perfection will be attained largely on how we use our free will, our sins can actually force God to revise his game plan in order to counterattack our move and bring back its intended goal. In a sense, therefore, we cheat every time we misuse our free choice. See, he had to change it. And we commit a sin. In terms of divine chess game, this is similar to making a move when the grandmaster is not looking. He is aware of what we have done, but he is too polite to object. His expertise can render our attempt invalid. However, for he can change his entire game on the spot in order to counterattack the move. Anything that happens in divine providence here, everything that we do, there has to be a reaction by God. Essentially then, this divine providence is imposed in certain order on us. And then giving in to what we do. Just as in a chess game, when God imposes the order of Netzach, he waits for the move of Hod. He's playing the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. All right?
You got about 10 minutes.
That's perfect. Netzach. Oh, dominance is the fourth day of creation. The stars and astronomical bodies were created on the fourth day. How did God create the astronomical bodies? Why did he think, oh, we're gonna need a sun and moon, some stars, and galaxy? I mean, where did that even come into play? What is he thinking? How did God create it? Was there a reciprocity on their part? He set them where they are, and that is where they remain forever. Essentially, they follow very rigid laws and are placed there. They are set there in motion, and we can't tell exactly which star is going to be 20 billion years from now. There's no need to account for any free will. This is precise Netzach dominance. God imposes his free will, and it is final. Hod is empathy. It's the fifth day, when the living creatures were created. Seen in relation to everything that preceded them. Fish were creatures that he's talking about. Although he's talking about the fish were created, one of the first aspects. Fish were the first creatures that could move about freely. Essentially, in creating fish, God was creating the first elements of change and free will. We're going to call it free choice. We know a big fish story?
Mm-hmm.
Jonah. All right. What's another term for big fish in here? There we go. See, it's all here. You just got to bring out the code. According to the ancient Midrash, the first 6 days of creation can be seen as two sets of 3 days each, where each second set perfects the first set. This is an exact parallel to the relationship between the first triad, Hesed, Guvurot, Tiferet, and the second triad, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. The Midrash states that on the first day, God created light. On the fourth day, Netzach. 3 days later, He created the luminaries. Second day, Gevurah. God created the oceans to divide the waters. On the fifth day, Hod. He created the fish to perfect the waters. And on the third day, Tiferet, He created dry land. On the sixth day, Yesod. He created man to perfect the dry land. What is it saying? If you read the account of creation, He creates all these things. And then you read the account of creation again, and it turns it all around. Because the first time God lists creation, it's just the vessels. It's just the potentiality of the form. It's the feminine part. But then when you add in it the thing that goes in it, that is the filling of the vessels. So the first is just the vessel. The second time it's iterated, it's the filling of the vessels. He made the land, and then He made man to work the land. That's the woman, and then He made man. All right? He made the ocean, He put the fish. In other words, the vessel, the first account is just the vessel. The second account is the filling of the vessel. Pushing in, making the vacuum, and then filling the vacuum up. Simpson. Boom, boom. All right? That's the story of creation. So, there we are here. So let's stop her right there on page 73. We have completed Netzach and Hod. And I know some of that stuff got a little bit deep, but I wanted to show you a little bit more of how it's coming from a very, very high root. And as it's extending down through this high root, even though the fall and all these things seem so, well, Adam's so stupid, everything has to happen in a certain way for God to perfect His plan. And He's working His plan from the backside of it, which is us. We are Him perfecting the plan going back the other way. Because there's nothing here but God. Mm-hmm. And we are the thing that it formed, that it created. So just the pure thought of creation was creation. And it had form, everything.
And the speaking was the thought was the vessel, and the speaking was the...
But when God thinks, He speaks.
At the same time.
Yeah. Now, I'll leave you with this. There is a Hosea, I want to say 8:3, something like that. I studied that this week. There's a midrash that says that the Holy One and Moses are arguing, which happened a lot. And the Holy One said to write down the oral Torah. And Moses says, why would you want to write down the oral Torah? It's oral. He says, because in the future, they will do it. They will write it down. And the others will say they are my children. And he says, so I'm going to have to know who are my children. So he says, my children are the ones that know them. And the way the rabbis in this piece translate it, it's called Mystoria. Mystoria, from the mouth. Mm-hmm. All right? And he says, this is how I will know my children. And Mystoria comes from a Greek word. So here in all this Aramaic, you have a Greek word right in there. Why Greek? because Greek has no blemish. And mystoria comes from the word mysteries that have no blemish. So what he's saying is, I will know my children because they will take the oral Torah that is written down and they will teach the mysteries and they will know the mysteries. And those are my children. And so everybody complains about, oh, it's not oral Torah anymore because it's written down. God and Moses decided that was the way it was going to be. Even though Moses didn't do it, it was done by the Hazal, which are the legs of Moses, basically, legs of Mashiach, so that in the end times, God could tell who his real children are versus those who call themselves his children. And the Torah is amazing, and the sages are amazing, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one, y'all.
Amazing.